Good evening, and welcome back to Boring Science for Sleep, the quiet place where curiosity slows down, where science becomes gentle, and where your thoughts can softly drift into rest. Tonight, we explore something a little unusual, a moment that exists between worlds, not fully awake and not fully asleep, a moment where the mind opens, but the body does not follow. Perhaps you have experienced it before. You wake up suddenly in the night. Your eyes are open, or you feel as though they are. You can sense the room around you, the darkness, the stillness, the quiet air. But when you try to move, nothing happens. Your body remains completely still, as if it no longer belongs to you. For a few seconds, or sometimes longer, you are aware but unable to move. This strange and often unsettling experience is known as sleep paralysis. And while it can feel mysterious, sometimes even frightening, it is actually something that many people experience at least once in their lives. In fact, sleep paralysis is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a natural part of how the brain and body transition between sleep and wakefulness. Tonight's gentle journey will explore 100 sleepy facts about sleep paralysis. We'll slowly uncover what is happening inside the brain during these moments, why the body becomes temporarily still, and why the mind can sometimes create such vivid and powerful sensations. Along the way, we'll also discover why this experience, despite how it may feel, is completely safe. But before we continue, I'd love to know something simple. Where are you listening from tonight, and what time is it there? Some of you may be lying in bed under quiet midnight skies. Others might be listening just before sleep in the early evening, or even in the calm hours before sunrise. So if you feel like it, leave a comment below and share your location and the time where you are right now. It's always comforting to see how people from all around the world gather here in this quiet moment before sleep. Now, let the room grow softer. Let the day slowly fade behind you, and allow your body to relax more deeply into stillness. Because tonight, we are exploring a moment that exists right at the edge of sleep. A moment where awareness returns, but the body is still dreaming. Sleep paralysis happens when the mind wakes up before the body does. During certain stages of sleep, especially during dreaming, the brain gently disables most muscle movement. This is a protective system designed to keep the body still while the mind moves freely through dreams. But sometimes the timing shifts. The mind wakes up just a little too early, and for a brief moment, awareness returns, while the body remains in its dreaming state. This can create a strange sensation, a feeling of being present, yet unable to move, often accompanied by a quiet stillness that feels unfamiliar, and, sometimes, a subtle sense of unease. But as we will discover together tonight, this experience is not something to fear. It is simply the brain doing its quiet work, in a moment where sleep and wakefulness overlap. And as we continue, we will gently step deeper into this calm and mysterious space between dreams and awareness. To understand sleep paralysis, we begin with something the body does every single night, quietly and without effort. Sleep. As evening settles in and the body begins to relax, the brain slowly shifts out of its waking rhythm. The fast, active patterns of the day begin to soften. Breathing becomes slower. Muscles release their tension, and gradually, the mind begins its descent into sleep. This process does not happen all at once. Instead, the brain moves through several stages, each with its own rhythm and purpose. At first, there is a light stage of sleep, where thoughts begin to drift and awareness gently fades. You may still hear sounds around you. You may still feel connected to the world. But the mind is already beginning to turn inward. Then, as sleep deepens, the brain enters slower and more restorative states. the body rests more fully, energy is restored, the mind becomes quieter, and eventually the brain reaches one of the most fascinating stages of sleep, a stage known as REM sleep. REM stands for rapid eye movement. During this phase, the brain becomes highly active again. In fact, brain activity during REM sleep can look surprisingly similar to the activity seen when we are awake. But something important is different. While the mind becomes active, the body becomes still. Very still. During REM sleep, the brain gently sends signals that temporarily disable most voluntary muscle movement. This state is known as atonia. It is a natural and protective mechanism. While you are dreaming, your mind may be running, walking, speaking, or moving through vivid environments. Without atonia, your body might attempt to physically act out these dream movements. So the brain prevents this by relaxing the muscles almost completely, allowing the mind to dream while the body remains safely at rest. Under normal circumstances, this system works perfectly. You fall asleep. The body enters atonia. Dreams unfold quietly. And when you wake up, the brain smoothly restores control to the body. But occasionally, something slightly different happens. The timing between the brain and the body becomes misaligned. The mind wakes up just a little too early. Awareness returns. You begin to sense your surroundings again, but the body is still in the state of REM atonia. The muscles remain relaxed. The signals that allow movement have not yet been fully restored, and this is the moment we call sleep paralysis. You are awake, but unable to move. It can feel as though the body is no longer responding, as though you are present inside your mind, but disconnected from your physical control. For many people, this sensation can feel unfamiliar, even unsettling, because we are so used to the body responding instantly to our intentions. When we decide to move, we expect movement to follow, but during sleep paralysis, that connection is temporarily paused. The brain has not yet completed the transition back to full wakefulness, and so, for a brief moment, the body remains still. Interestingly, this state usually lasts only a short time, often just a few seconds, sometimes a minute or two, but rarely longer, even though, in the moment, it may feel much longer. Part of this feeling comes from the heightened awareness during the experience. The mind becomes focused on the inability to move. Time can feel stretched. Each second feels more noticeable. But beneath this experience, the brain is already working to restore balance. Gradually, the systems that control movement begin to reactivate. Signals travel once again from the brain to the muscles, and slowly, control returns. A finger may twitch. A small movement becomes possible, and within moments, the body is fully responsive again. The connection between mind and body is restored. This entire process reflects the delicate coordination that takes place between different parts of the brain during sleep. Most of the time, these systems operate in perfect harmony, but occasionally, small shifts in timing create brief overlaps between states, where the mind is awake and the body is still dreaming. This overlap can create the sensation of being trapped inside the body, not because anything is wrong, but because two different states of consciousness are briefly happening at the same time. The dreaming body and the waking mind. Understanding this can bring a sense of calm to the experience, because what feels unusual, even frightening, is actually part of a natural process. The brain is simply completing its transition, moving gently from sleep back into wakefulness. And as we continue our journey, we will explore something even more intriguing. Because during this quiet moment of stillness, the mind is not always empty. Sometimes it begins to create something else, a presence, a feeling that something is there, even when nothing is. And this is where the mystery of sleep paralysis becomes even more fascinating. As we gently continue exploring the quiet science of sleep paralysis, we arrive at one of its most mysterious and often unsettling features: the feeling that you are not alone. Many people who experience sleep paralysis describe something remarkably similar. They wake into stillness, they cannot move, and then they sense a presence in the room. Not always something clearly seen, sometimes just a feeling, a quiet awareness that something is nearby, watching, waiting. Even though the room itself may be silent and unchanged, this experience can feel deeply real, so real that it often stays in memory long after the moment has passed. But what is this presence? Why does the mind create it? To understand this, we must look at what the brain is doing during this delicate state between sleep and wakefulness. During sleep paralysis, the mind is partly awake. You may be aware of your surroundings. You may recognize the room, but at the same time, parts of the brain that generate dreams are still active. This creates a unique overlap. The waking world and the dreaming world blending together. In dreams, the brain is capable of creating entire environments. People, places, sounds, and sensations can appear vividly, even though they are generated entirely within the mind. During sleep paralysis, fragments of this dream activity can leak into waking awareness. The result is something known as a hypnopompic hallucination, a dreamlike experience that occurs as you wake up. These hallucinations can take many forms. Some people hear faint sounds, footsteps, whispers, a door opening softly. Others may see shapes or shadows forming in the room, dark figures near the edge of vision, subtle movements in the darkness. And sometimes the experience is not visual or auditory at all. It is simply a strong feeling, a sense that something is present, even without clear evidence. What makes this experience especially powerful is how real it feels. This happens because the brain processes these hallucinations using the same systems it uses for real perception. The visual cortex becomes active. The auditory regions respond. To the brain, these signals are not easily distinguished from actual sensory input, so the experience feels authentic, as if something is truly there. At the same time, another part of the brain becomes highly active, a small structure known as the amygdala. The amygdala plays a central role in processing fear and detecting potential threats. It is part of the brain's survival system. When the amygdala becomes active, it prepares the body for danger. Heart rate may increase, breathing may become shallow, attention sharpens. Even during sleep paralysis, when the body cannot move, the amygdala can still respond. And when it does, it can amplify the emotional tone of the experience. The mind becomes alert, hyper-aware, searching for meaning, trying to understand what is happening. And because the brain is already in a partially dreaming state, it may quickly create a narrative to explain the sensation. If there is a shadow, the mind may interpret it as a figure. If there is a sound, it may feel intentional. If there is only a feeling, the brain may still assign it meaning. Something is here. Something is watching. This is how the sense of presence forms. Not from an external source, but from the brain's attempt to interpret unusual signals. Interestingly, this experience is reported across cultures all around the world. People from different countries, different languages, and different belief systems often describe remarkably similar sensations. A presence in the room, a shadowy figure, a feeling of being watched. But the way this experience is interpreted can vary depending on cultural beliefs. In some traditions, it may be described as a spirit or supernatural being. In others, it may be seen as a shadow figure or an unknown entity. In Indonesia, it is sometimes described as being ditindi makhluk. In parts of Europe, there are stories of the old hag sitting on the chest. Different names, different stories, but beneath all of these interpretations lies the same underlying experience. The brain generating a presence during a moment of altered consciousness. This shared pattern suggests that the experience is rooted in the biology of the brain, not in external forces. The combination of dream imagery, partial wakefulness, and heightened emotional response creates a powerful illusion, one that feels deeply real, but originates entirely within the mind. Understanding this can bring a sense of calm, because even though the experience may feel intense, even frightening, it is not dangerous. It is simply the brain passing through a temporary state, a moment where imagination, perception, and emotion briefly overlap, and as the brain continues to wake up, the experience fades. The presence disappears. The room returns to its ordinary stillness, and awareness settles back into reality. Yet there is another question that often arises during sleep paralysis, a question that feels just as mysterious. If the mind is awake and the body is still, why is it so difficult to move? Why does the body remain completely still even when the desire to move feels so strong? To answer this, we must look more closely at the brain's control over movement itself, and the quiet system that keeps the body still while the mind dreams. As we continue this quiet journey into the science of sleep paralysis, we come to one of its most striking features: the stillness, the moment when you are aware, yet unable to move. At first, this can feel confusing, even alarming, because in everyday life, the connection between thought and movement feels immediate. You decide to move your hand, and it moves. You open your mouth, and words follow. But during sleep paralysis, that familiar connection is temporarily paused. And to understand why, we must return to something we introduced earlier, a natural process called atonia. Each night, as the brain enters REM sleep, the stage where vivid dreaming occurs, it activates a protective system. A system designed to gently disable most voluntary muscle movement. This is not a mistake. It is not a malfunction. It is a carefully regulated feature of the brain. During dreams, the mind can simulate movement. You may run, speak, turn, or interact with dream environments. But without atonia, the body might attempt to physically act out these movements. So the brain ensures that while the mind is active, the body remains safely still. This process is controlled by structures deep within the brain, particularly the brainstem. The brainstem acts as a bridge between the brain and the body. It regulates essential functions like breathing, heart rate, and during sleep, movement control. When REM sleep begins, the brainstem sends inhibitory signals down the spinal cord. These signals prevent motor neurons, the neurons responsible for activating muscles, from responding. As a result, the muscles remain relaxed, almost completely inactive. This is why, even though your dreams may be vivid and full of motion, your physical body stays still. It is a quiet form of protection, a way for the brain to separate the world of dreams from the world of physical action. But during sleep paralysis, something subtle happens. The mind wakes up, awareness returns, but the brainstem has not yet released its hold on the body. The signals that keep the muscles inactive are still in place. And so, even though you are conscious, your body remains in the same state it was in during dreaming. You may try to move your arms. Nothing happens. You may try to speak, but your voice does not respond, because the pathways that allow movement and speech are still temporarily blocked. This can create the powerful sensation of being trapped inside the body, as though the mind has awakened, but the body is still asleep. Some people also describe a feeling of heaviness, as if something is pressing down on the chest, or as if the body itself has become too heavy to lift. This sensation is not caused by any external force. It is a result of the body's muscles being deeply relaxed, combined with the mind's expectation that movement should be possible. Breathing may also feel different. During REM sleep, breathing patterns become slower and more automatic. When you become aware in this state, you may notice your breathing in a new way. It may feel shallow or slightly restricted. This can add to the sense of discomfort, especially if the mind begins to interpret the experience as something unusual or threatening. Another common experience during sleep paralysis is the inability to speak. You may try to call out, to make a sound, but no words come. This happens because the muscles involved in speech are also affected by atonia. Just like the rest of the body, they are temporarily inactive. The intention to speak is present, but the physical system needed to produce sound is not yet active. All of this can feel intense, but it is important to remember that this state is temporary. The brain is already in the process of restoring control. Slowly, the brainstem releases its inhibition. Motor neurons begin to respond again, muscles regain their tone, and movement returns. Often, this transition happens suddenly. A finger moves, the chest rises more fully with a breath, and within seconds, the body is once again under voluntary control. Interestingly, there are conditions where the opposite of sleep paralysis occurs. Instead of the body remaining still during dreams, the protective system fails to activate properly. This can lead to behaviors such as sleepwalking. In sleepwalking, the body moves while the mind is still in a dreaming or semi-conscious state. The separation between dreaming and movement becomes incomplete. So in a way, sleep paralysis and sleepwalking are two sides of the same system. One where the body is too still, and one where the body is not still enough. Both reveal how carefully the brain normally balances the relationship between consciousness and movement. Each night, this system operates quietly in the background, allowing the mind to dream while keeping the body safe. And only occasionally does this balance shift, creating the brief overlap we experience as sleep paralysis. Understanding this can transform the way we see the experience. What feels like a loss of control is actually a moment where the brain's protective system is still active, a temporary pause between sleep and wakefulness. And as we continue, we will explore something even more subtle. Because during this state, the mind is not simply awake or asleep. It exists somewhere in between, a place where dreams can blend with reality, where imagination can appear within the waking world, a place where the boundaries of consciousness become beautifully and mysteriously blurred. As we continue drifting through the quiet science of sleep paralysis, we arrive at a place where the boundaries between worlds begin to soften, a place where sleep and wakefulness gently overlap, where the mind is not fully dreaming and not fully awake. This is the state of the half-dreaming mind. During sleep paralysis, consciousness exists in a delicate balance. Part of the brain has awakened. You are aware. You can sense the room. You may even recognize where you are. But at the same time, other parts of the brain remain in the dreaming state. The systems responsible for generating images, sounds, and emotions are still active. And because of this, the experience becomes something unique, a blending of reality and dream. This is why sleep paralysis often includes vivid sensations. Not just the stillness of the body, but the presence of images, sounds, or feelings that seem to appear from nowhere. These experiences are known as hypnagogic and hypnopompic hallucinations. Hypnagogic hallucinations occur as you are falling asleep. Hypnopompic hallucinations occur as you are waking up. Sleep paralysis most often involves the hypnopompic kind dream imagery that continues into waking awareness. To understand why this happens, imagine the brain as a system that slowly transitions between different states. When you fall asleep, the brain gradually shifts from wakefulness into dreaming. When you wake up, it moves in the opposite direction. But these transitions are not always perfectly synchronized. Sometimes, certain parts of the brain wake up faster than others. Awareness returns, but the dream-generating systems have not yet fully turned off. And so, for a brief moment, dream content continues to flow, not within a dream, but directly into conscious experience. It is as if the mind is still painting dream images, while the eyes are open to the real world. This can create powerful illusions. A shadow may appear in the room. A shape may form near the edge of vision. A sound may seem to come from somewhere close by. These are not external events. They are internally generated experiences created by the same systems that produce dreams. But because awareness has returned, they are perceived as if they exist in the real environment. This blending can feel incredibly convincing, because the brain is using its full perceptual systems to create the experience. The visual cortex processes the image. The auditory system processes the sound. Emotion centers respond to the situation. To the mind, it feels real, because in many ways, the brain is treating it as real. Another factor that shapes this experience is imagination. The human brain is highly creative. Even in waking life, it constantly fills in missing information. It predicts what should be there. It completes patterns. During sleep paralysis, when sensory input is limited and dream systems are still active, imagination can become even more powerful. The brain attempts to make sense of unusual signals, and in doing so, it may quickly construct a narrative. If there is a shadow, the mind may interpret it as a figure. If there is a sound, it may feel intentional. If there is a sensation, it may seem meaningful. This process happens very quickly. Almost instantly, the brain is designed to interpret the world, to create meaning, to understand what is happening, and when it encounters something unfamiliar, it does what it always does. It builds a story, not because it wants to create fear, but because it is trying to understand. This is why the experiences during sleep paralysis can feel so structured, as if something is happening, as if there is a presence, an event, or a situation unfolding. But in reality, the mind is weaving together fragments of dream imagery, sensory perception, and expectation, creating a temporary reality that exists only within consciousness. As the brain continues waking up, something begins to change. The dream-generating systems start to quiet down. The visual and auditory hallucinations fade. The emotional intensity decreases. The sense of presence dissolves. And gradually, the mind returns fully to the waking state. Reality stabilizes. The room becomes clear again. Still, familiar. The body regains movement. Breathing feels natural again. And the strange overlap between dream and reality comes to an end. This entire process reveals something deeply fascinating about the nature of consciousness. The line between dreaming and waking is not as rigid as it might seem. Instead, it is fluid, a spectrum, a range of states that the brain moves through each night. Sleep paralysis is simply one moment along that spectrum, a brief intersection where the dreaming mind and waking awareness coexist. And while it may feel unusual, even mysterious, it is also a reminder of how powerful the brain truly is, how it can create entire worlds of experience, and how, in certain moments, those worlds can gently touch the edges of reality. As we continue our journey, we will explore another important piece of this experience. Because when the mind senses something unusual, something unexpected, the body often responds in a very specific way, with a surge of emotion, a feeling that can rise quickly and intensely, a feeling we know as fear. As we move deeper into the quiet landscape of sleep paralysis, we arrive at one of the most powerful parts of the experience. Not the stillness of the body, but the feeling that can rise within it. Fear. For many people, sleep paralysis is not just unusual, it is intensely emotional. A sudden awareness, combined with an inability to move, and sometimes the sense that something is present. All of this can create a feeling of alarm, and this feeling does not come from nowhere. It is part of a natural system within the body, a system designed to protect you, often called the fight or flight response. This system is always present, quietly observing the world, ready to respond if something feels dangerous. When activated, it prepares the body for action. The heart begins to beat faster, breathing changes, muscles become ready to move, attention sharpens. All of this happens automatically, without conscious effort. It is the body's way of preparing to face a threat or to move away from it. But during sleep paralysis, something unusual happens. The fight or flight system can become active. While the body is still unable to move, the brain senses something unfamiliar, something unexpected. The inability to move, the unusual sensations, perhaps the presence created by the dreaming mind, and it interprets this as a possible threat. So it responds. The heart rate may increase. You may feel your chest rising more quickly. Breathing may become shallow or uneven, and this can create the sensation of pressure in the chest, as though something is sitting there, or as though the breath cannot fully expand. This sensation is very common during sleep paralysis, and while it may feel intense, it is not harmful. It is simply the body's natural breathing pattern during REM sleep, combined with heightened awareness. Because you are now conscious of your breathing, it may feel different, more noticeable, more restricted. And when the mind interprets this as a problem, the feeling can grow stronger. This is where fear begins to shape the experience. The brain is constantly trying to understand what is happening, and when it encounters something unfamiliar, it often looks for explanations. If the body cannot move, if the chest feels heavy, if there is a sense of presence, the mind may begin to create a story. Something is wrong. Something is here. Something is happening. These thoughts can arise quickly, and when they do, they can amplify the emotional response. Fear grows, the body becomes more alert, and the experience feels more intense. But beneath all of this, something important remains true. You are safe. Sleep paralysis does not harm the body. It does not stop breathing. It does not cause lasting effects. It is simply a temporary state, a moment where different systems in the brain are slightly out of sync. The mind is awake, the body is still in its dreaming mode, and the emotional system is responding to the unfamiliar sensation. Understanding this can begin to soften the experience, because fear often comes from uncertainty, from not knowing what is happening. But when the mind recognizes the pattern, when it understands that this is a known and natural phenomenon, the intensity can begin to decrease. There is also a gentle connection between breath and emotion. When breathing becomes shallow, the body may feel more tense. But when breathing slows and deepens, the body begins to relax. Even during sleep paralysis, bringing attention to the breath, simply observing it, can help calm the mind. Not forcing it, not changing it aggressively, just noticing, allowing it to move naturally. This quiet awareness can signal to the brain that there is no immediate danger, and slowly, the emotional response begins to settle. The heart rate slows, the sense of panic fades, and as the brain continues its transition into full wakefulness, control returns. Movement becomes possible again. The chest feels lighter. The room becomes still once more. and the experience gently comes to an end. What remains is often a memory, a vivid one, because experiences that involve strong emotion tend to stay with us. But over time, as understanding grows, the experience can change. What once felt frightening can begin to feel familiar, even manageable, and in some cases, almost neutral. A strange but harmless moment between sleep and waking. This part of the journey reveals something deeply human: how the mind and body work together, how quickly the brain can respond to uncertainty, and how awareness can transform the experience. Because even in moments of stillness, even in moments of fear, the body is still doing what it is designed to do: protecting, balancing, returning gently to calm. And as we continue, we will explore why some people experience sleep paralysis more often than others, why certain patterns of life, rest, and thought can make this quiet moment between sleep and wakefulness appear more frequently, and how understanding these patterns can bring even more ease to the experience. As we continue this gentle exploration, we begin to notice something interesting. Sleep paralysis does not happen equally to everyone. Some people experience it only once, perhaps as a brief and distant memory. Others may encounter it several times throughout their lives. And for some, it becomes a more familiar visitor, appearing occasionally during certain periods of life. This raises a quiet question. Why do some people experience sleep paralysis more often than others? The answer, like many things in the mind, is not a single cause, but rather a pattern, a combination of small influences that shape how the brain moves between sleep and wakefulness. One of the most noticeable patterns is age. Sleep paralysis is reported more often in teenagers and young adults. During these years, the brain is highly active, learning, adapting, processing new experiences. Sleep patterns are often changing, sometimes irregular, sometimes shortened, and the boundary between sleep and wakefulness can be more fluid. This does not mean something is wrong. It simply reflects a brain that is still exploring its rhythms. As people grow older, sleep patterns often become more stable, and the frequency of sleep paralysis tends to decrease. Not always, but often. Another important factor is sleep itself. Not just whether we sleep, but how we sleep. Sleep is not a simple on and off state. It is a cycle, a rhythm that the brain follows throughout the night. When this rhythm becomes disrupted, the transitions between stages can become less smooth. This is where sleep paralysis is more likely to occur. For example, sleep deprivation, not getting enough rest, can increase the chances. When the body is tired, it may enter REM sleep more quickly and more intensely. And this can create more opportunities for the timing mismatch we described earlier, where the mind wakes up before the body does. Irregular sleep schedules can have a similar effect, going to sleep at different times each night, waking at inconsistent hours. These patterns can make the brain's internal clock less predictable, and when the timing becomes less precise, small overlaps between states can occur, moments where dreaming and waking gently collide. There is also the quiet influence of stress and anxiety. The mind, during the day, carries thoughts, concerns, responsibilities, unfinished tasks. Even when the body rests, the mind does not always become still immediately. Stress can make sleep lighter, more fragmented. It can increase nighttime awakenings, and each awakening is a moment where the brain must transition back into wakefulness. If that transition is incomplete, sleep paralysis can occur. It is not that stress directly causes the experience, but it shapes the conditions around sleep, making the boundaries between states a little less stable. Another subtle factor is sleep position. Some studies suggest that sleep paralysis is more commonly reported when people sleep on their backs. This position may influence breathing patterns, or how the body relaxes during REM sleep. It may also affect how aware we become of our physical state during partial awakenings. But like many aspects of sleep, this is not a strict rule, only a gentle tendency. Then there is something more intangible, something related to the way the mind experiences the world. Imagination. People who have vivid inner worlds, those who daydream, visualize, imagine, often report sleep paralysis more frequently. This may be because the same neural systems that support imagination are also active during dreaming. And when these systems remain active during partial wakefulness, the experience can become more vivid, more detailed, more noticeable. There is also an interesting connection with lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming occurs when a person becomes aware that they are dreaming while still inside the dream. In some cases, sleep paralysis can act as a gateway into this state, because it is already a moment where awareness and dreaming overlap. Some individuals learn to remain calm during sleep paralysis, to observe it without fear, and from that calm awareness, they may gently transition back into a dream, this time with a sense of control. But for many, the experience remains simply a brief moment of stillness, a pause between worlds. Sleep paralysis can also occur more frequently during periods of mental fatigue, when the mind has been working intensely, processing information, solving problems, thinking deeply. In these moments, the brain may enter sleep with a different rhythm, more quickly, more deeply, and the transitions between states may become slightly less synchronized. Again, not as a problem, but as a reflection of how the brain adapts to its current condition. Over time, some people notice patterns in their own experiences. Sleep paralysis may appear during periods of change, during travel, during irregular schedules, during times of emotional intensity, and then it may fade again, becoming less frequent, or disappearing entirely for long periods. This reveals something important. Sleep paralysis is not a fixed condition. It is not something that defines a person. It is a temporary expression of how the brain is moving through its cycles, a moment where timing shifts slightly, where awareness and dreaming overlap. Understanding these patterns can bring a quiet sense of ease, because instead of feeling random or unpredictable, the experience begins to feel connected, linked to the rhythms of life, to sleep, to thought, to the gentle movement of the mind between states. There is also a comforting idea within this, that the brain is always adjusting, always learning, always seeking balance. Even when experiences feel unusual, the underlying systems are working toward harmony, toward rest, toward restoration. And with small shifts, regular sleep, gentle routines, moments of calm, the brain often returns to smoother transitions, where sleep flows more quietly, and wakefulness arrives without interruption. As we continue our journey, we will step beyond the biology and into something more human, because long before science began to understand sleep paralysis, people experienced it. They felt it. They tried to explain it. And across cultures, across time, they gave it meaning. Stories, names, interpretations. And these stories, passed from one generation to another, reveal something beautiful about the human mind, our desire to understand the unknown, even in the quiet moments between sleep and waking. As we continue drifting through this quiet exploration, we step into a different kind of understanding. Not only the science of sleep paralysis, but the stories it has inspired. Long before neuroscience could describe REM sleep, long before the brainstem and atonia were understood, people across the world experienced this same mysterious moment, waking in the night, unable to move, feeling a presence nearby, hearing something that could not be explained. And, as humans often do when faced with something unfamiliar, they gave it meaning. They told stories. In many parts of Europe, there is an old tale, a figure known as the Old Hag. It was said that during the night, this figure would visit sleeping individuals, sitting on their chest, holding them down, preventing movement. Those who experienced sleep paralysis described sensations that matched this story so closely that the explanation felt natural. It felt real. In parts of Asia, similar experiences are described in different ways. In Indonesia, many people speak of being ditindih makhluk, a feeling of being pressed down by an unseen presence, unable to move, aware but trapped in stillness. In Japan, there is the term kanashibari. In other regions, there are stories of spirits, shadows, or unseen beings. Different cultures, different languages, different beliefs, and yet the core experience remains strikingly similar. A still body, an aware mind, a sense of presence. This shared pattern tells us something important. That sleep paralysis is not shaped by culture alone. It is shaped by the human brain. The biology is universal. The experience arises from the same systems, no matter where a person lives. But the interpretation, the meaning given to the experience can vary. And this is where culture plays its role. The human mind does not like uncertainty. When something unusual happens, the brain searches for explanation. It looks for familiar patterns, for stories that already exist. And when it finds one, it uses that story to make sense of the experience. If a culture has stories of spirits or night visitors, the experience may be understood in that way. If the explanation is scientific, the experience may be seen as a natural brain phenomenon. Both interpretations arise from the same moment, but they shape how the experience is felt, how it is remembered, and whether it is seen as something to fear or something to understand. There is a quiet relationship between fear and belief. When the mind interprets an experience as external, as something beyond control, fear often becomes stronger. The presence feels more real, more threatening. But when the same experience is understood as something internal, as something created by the brain, the feeling can change. It may still feel unusual, but it becomes less overwhelming, more understandable, more contained. This is one of the reasons why scientific understanding can feel calming. Not because it removes the mystery entirely, but because it places the experience within a known system, a system that has patterns, that has explanations, that can be observed and understood. Sleep paralysis becomes not a visitation, but a transition, not an external force, but an internal overlap between sleep and wakefulness. And yet, the stories themselves are still meaningful. They remind us of something deeply human, our need to understand, to describe, to share experiences with others. Before science, stories were the way people made sense of the unknown. And even now, those stories continue to exist, passed quietly from one generation to another. Whispered explanations for something that feels just beyond ordinary experience. Interestingly, even though the interpretations differ, the details often remain consistent. The feeling of pressure on the chest, the inability to move, the sense of presence, the awareness of the room. This consistency suggests that the experience itself is rooted in a shared human biology, a common structure of the brain, a common process during sleep. And this brings a quiet kind of unity across cultures, across time, across different ways of seeing the world. People have felt the same stillness, the same moment between sleep and waking, and they have tried, in their own ways, to understand it. Today, science offers a different perspective, one that does not rely on unseen forces, but on the gentle complexity of the brain, the coordination of sleep stages, the interaction between awareness and dreaming, the role of emotion and perception. And for many, this understanding brings comfort because it transforms the experience from something mysterious and external into something natural and internal, a moment where the brain is simply completing its work, still moving through the final steps of waking. And as we continue, we return again to the science, to the quiet methods that researchers use to study sleep itself. Because even though sleep paralysis has been experienced for centuries, understanding it fully requires careful observation, gentle measurement, and a willingness to explore the mind as it moves through the night. As we continue our quiet journey, we move from stories into observation, from experience into understanding. Because while sleep paralysis has been known for centuries through personal accounts, science approaches it in a different way, gently, carefully, watching the sleeping mind as it moves through the night. To study sleep, scientists begin with something simple. They observe the brain, not through thoughts or words, but through patterns, electrical patterns that can be measured. This is done using a tool called an EEG, or electroencephalogram. Small sensors are placed on the scalp. These sensors do not interfere with sleep. They simply listen, recording the tiny electrical signals produced by the brain's activity. As a person sleeps, these signals change. They form patterns, rhythms, waves that move slower or faster, depending on the stage of sleep. In light sleep, the patterns begin to soften. In deep sleep, they become slow and steady. And then, during REM sleep, something remarkable happens. The patterns become active again, faster, more complex, almost like the brain has returned to a waking state. This is one of the key discoveries in sleep science, that while the body rests, the brain continues to work, to process, to organize, to dream. REM sleep, the stage most closely linked to dreaming, is also the stage most connected to sleep paralysis, because it is during REM sleep that the body enters atonia, the protective stillness we explored earlier. By observing EEG patterns, scientists can identify when a person enters REM sleep. They can see the transition, the moment when the brain shifts into this dreaming state, and they can study how the brain behaves during it. But studying sleep paralysis itself is more challenging, because unlike sleep stages, which occur every night, sleep paralysis is unpredictable. It does not happen on command. It cannot easily be scheduled, and this makes it difficult to capture in a controlled environment. Imagine trying to study something that appears only occasionally, something that depends on subtle timing differences in the brain. Researchers may observe many nights of sleep without a single episode occurring. This is why much of the understanding of sleep paralysis comes not only from laboratory studies, but also from personal reports, carefully collected experiences from individuals who have felt it, described it, remembered it. These reports, when compared across many people, reveal patterns, consistent features, common sensations, shared structures, and these patterns can then be connected back to what we know about the brain, to REM sleep, to atonia, to partial awakenings. There are also more detailed studies known as sleep studies or polysomnography. In these studies, individuals sleep in a controlled environment while multiple systems are monitored: brain activity, eye movement, breathing, heart rate, muscle activity. All of these signals together create a detailed picture of sleep. They show how the body and brain move through different stages, how transitions occur, and where unusual patterns may appear. In some rare cases, sleep paralysis has been observed during these studies. providing valuable insight into what is happening in the brain at that exact moment. Another area of research involves the study of sleep-related hallucinations. These are the dreamlike experiences that occur during sleep paralysis. By understanding how the brain generates imagery during dreams, scientists can better understand why those images sometimes appear during wakefulness. It becomes clear that the brain is not switching instantly between states, but moving gradually. And during that transition, elements of one state can remain active within another. There is also an important connection between sleep paralysis and certain sleep conditions. One of these is narcolepsy. Narcolepsy is a condition that affects the regulation of sleep and wakefulness. People with narcolepsy may enter REM sleep very quickly, sometimes even during the day. Because of this, they are more likely to experience sleep paralysis more frequently, more intensely. For researchers, studying narcolepsy has provided valuable insights into how REM sleep works and how the boundaries between sleep and wakefulness can shift. Through these studies, scientists have come to understand that sleep paralysis is not an isolated phenomenon. It is part of a broader system, a system that controls sleep stages, muscle activity, and consciousness. And when this system shifts slightly, sleep paralysis can occur. Over time, researchers continue to grow. New tools allow for more precise measurement, better imaging of brain activity, deeper understanding of neural pathways. And yet, even with all of this progress, there are still questions that remain. Why does sleep paralysis happen to some people more than others? Why does it occur at certain times and not others? Why do some experiences include vivid hallucinations, while others remain quiet and still? These questions remind us that the brain is a complex system, one that is still being explored, still being understood. But within this complexity, there is also clarity, a growing understanding that sleep paralysis is not something mysterious in the sense of being unknown. It is mysterious in the sense of being intricate, subtle, a reflection of how many systems must work together each night, and how even small shifts can create entirely new experiences. As we continue, we move towards something more personal, because understanding sleep paralysis is not only about observing it, but also about experiencing it, and learning how to remain calm within it, how to recognize the moment, and gently allow it to pass, like a wave that rises and then returns to stillness. As we gently approach the final stages of our journey, we arrive at something both simple and deeply reassuring. The understanding that even in the stillness of sleep paralysis, you are not powerless, because while the body may be temporarily still, the mind remains aware, and within that awareness, there is something quiet and steady, the ability to remain calm. When sleep paralysis first begins, the experience can feel unexpected. The body does not respond. The breath feels different. The room may seem unfamiliar, and in that moment, the mind may search for meaning, trying to understand what is happening. If this search leads to fear, the experience can become more intense, because, as we have seen, the brain's emotional system responds quickly. It prepares for danger. It sharpens attention. It amplifies sensation. But if the mind can gently recognize the moment, something changes. Instead of reacting, it begins to observe. One of the most helpful realizations is this: this is temporary. Sleep paralysis always passes. The brain is already moving toward full wakefulness. Even if it feels long, it is only a brief moment, a transition, and remembering this can soften the experience. Like watching a wave that you know will soon return to calm. Another gentle anchor during this moment is the breath. Breathing continues naturally during sleep paralysis, even if it feels different, Even if it feels shallow or restricted, the breath is still there, moving quietly. If you bring your attention to it, not trying to control it, but simply noticing it, you may begin to feel a sense of grounding, the rhythm of inhale and exhale, the rise and fall of the chest, a steady pattern within the stillness. This simple awareness can signal to the brain that there is no immediate danger, and slowly the emotional response begins to settle. Some people also find it helpful to focus on small movements, not trying to move the entire body, but gently directing attention to something very small. A finger, a toe, the smallest possible motion. Often, these small signals are the first to return, and as one movement becomes possible, others begin to follow. This is not about forcing movement, but allowing it, waiting for the body to reconnect. Another quiet technique is what we might call mental grounding, bringing the mind into something familiar, repeating a simple thought, a calm phrase, or even just reminding yourself, "This is sleep paralysis, it will pass." These words do not need to be spoken aloud. They can remain soft and internal, like a whisper within the mind, helping to steady awareness. Because what often makes sleep paralysis feel intense is not the stillness itself, but the interpretation of it. When the mind sees it as something unknown, something threatening, fear grows. But when the mind recognizes it, understands it, the experience changes. It becomes something observed rather than something feared. There is also something important to understand about panic. Panic does not help the body regain movement faster. In fact, it can make the experience feel longer, more intense, because it activates the body's alert systems, increases heart rate, sharpens perception, and keeps the mind focused on the experience. But calm awareness has the opposite effect. It allows the brain to complete its transition naturally, without resistance, without added tension, and this often makes the experience feel shorter, smoother, less overwhelming. Over time, some people notice that their relationship with sleep paralysis begins to change. What once felt frightening becomes familiar. What once felt uncontrollable becomes manageable, and in some cases, it may even feel neutral, just another state of the mind passing quietly. There are also gentle ways to reduce how often sleep paralysis occurs. Not through control, but through rhythm. Regular sleep patterns can help the brain move more smoothly between stages, going to sleep at similar times, waking at consistent hours, allowing the body to follow a steady cycle. Reducing stress before sleep can also help. Simple practices, quiet moments, letting the mind settle before rest. Even small things like dimming lights, slowing activity, or stepping away from stimulation can signal to the brain that it is time to rest. Sleep position may also play a role. Some people find that sleeping on their side reduces the frequency of episodes. Again, not as a strict rule, but as a gentle adjustment. All of these small changes support the brain's natural rhythm, helping transitions between sleep and wakefulness become smoother. And with smoother transitions, the overlap that creates sleep paralysis becomes less frequent. But even when it does happen, there is something important to remember. You are not stuck. You are not in danger. You are simply in a moment where the brain is completing its process. A moment that will pass. And within that moment, you can remain calm, aware, present, like standing quietly at the edge of sleep, watching the mind move from one state to another. And as we move into the final part of our journey, we will gently reflect on this experience as a whole, not as something to fear, but as a small and fascinating window into how the mind and body work together. In the quiet, unseen hours of the night. Segment 10. The quiet transition back to sleep, to 1,100 words including outro. And now, as we arrive at the final part of our journey, we return to something gentle, the way the body comes back, the way the mind settles, the quiet ending of a moment that once felt so still and so unusual. Sleep paralysis, despite how vivid it may seem, does not last. It cannot remain, because the brain is always moving, always completing its transitions, always guiding the body back into balance. As the experience begins to fade, something subtle changes. The signals from the brainstem that once held the body still begin to release. Motor pathways slowly awaken. The connection between intention and movement returns. At first, it may be very small. A slight movement in the fingers, a shift in the chest, a deeper breath, and then, almost suddenly, the body responds again, fully, naturally, as if nothing had interrupted it. This return can feel almost surprising. After moments of stillness, movement comes back with ease. The heaviness disappears. The sense of pressure lifts, and the body feels once again like something familiar, something responsive. At the same time, the mind begins to quiet. The dreamlike images fade. The sense of presence dissolves. The room becomes still and ordinary again. What once felt vivid becomes distant, like a dream that slips away as morning approaches. This is because the brain is completing its shift into full wakefulness. The systems that create dreams are turning off. The systems that process the waking world are taking over, and the overlap between the two gently closes. Interestingly, many people find that after sleep paralysis ends, they feel a strong pull towards sleep again, a kind of quiet gravity, as if the body, having briefly touched wakefulness, now returns to rest. This happens because the brain is still within the broader cycle of sleep. The interruption was only temporary, and once it has passed, the body often resumes its natural rhythm, drifting back into sleep, returning to dreams, continuing the quiet work of restoration. In this way, sleep paralysis is not a disruption, but a brief pause, a moment where the system reveals itself, where the hidden processes of sleep become visible just for a few seconds, and then, just as quietly, they continue. There is something comforting in this, the understanding that even unusual experiences are part of a larger pattern, a system that is always working, always balancing, always guiding the body toward rest. Sleep is not fragile, it is resilient. It knows how to continue, and the brain, even in its most complex moments, moves towards stability. What remains after sleep paralysis is often a memory, a quiet awareness that something unusual occurred, but also, perhaps, a deeper understanding that the mind is capable of creating powerful experiences, even in stillness, that the boundary between dreaming and waking is not fixed, but fluid, and that within this fluidity there is no danger, only transition. Now, as you rest here, allow your thoughts to soften. Let the details of this journey gently fade, like footprints disappearing in soft sand. Imagine your mind as a quiet landscape, a place where thoughts come and go like passing clouds, and somewhere within that landscape there is a gentle light, the light of awareness. It does not rush, it does not force, it simply observes, illuminating each moment as it appears and then fades. And just like that light, your consciousness moves softly through the night, sometimes dreaming, sometimes aware, sometimes resting in the space between. There is nothing you need to do, nothing you need to hold on to. The body knows how to sleep. The mind knows how to settle. All you have to do is allow it. So let your breathing become slow and natural. Let your muscles relax completely. Let the quiet rhythm of this moment carry you gently forward. And if sleep comes, let it come softly, like a calm wave returning to shore. Thank you for spending this quiet time here on Boring Science for Sleep, where curiosity slows down and the mind is free to rest. If you're still awake, that's perfectly okay. Just continue listening. Let the sound guide you. And if you feel yourself drifting, then gently allow it. Good night, and sleep well.